Hi, everyone, and welcome to F-Bomb Friday. I am your host, Tracy Preston, along with my husband, Todd. Hey, hun.
Hey, baby.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Let's hit it. On today's show, I'm going to tell you about the giant green squirrel of Amble. Giant squirrel sightings, particularly of the Indian giant squirrel, are more likely to be reported in specific areas like the Western Ghats of India, the Palani Hills, and certain national parks. While giant squirrels exist in various regions, sightings are rare due to the elusive nature, habitat preferences, and are mostly nocturnal. The Indian giant squirrel can grow up to 3 feet long with common colors of black, brown, red, and cream. Joining the giant squirrel species is the Sri Lankan and the cream-colored squirrels, and that's what they're called. The Sri Lankan, which is also called the grizzled giant squirrel, is the smallest of the giant squirrels, measuring a total length from nose to tail at 20 to 35 inches, with coloring of brown, black, cream, and orangish yellow. The cream-colored squirrel, as suggested by its name, is typically overall cream to a very light orangish brown and can reach lengths up to, get this, 8 feet from nose to the tip of its tail, making it one of the largest of its species. But none of these so-called giant squirrels inhabit North America, let alone the state of Michigan. Nope. What we're talking about is much larger and much more terrifying. According to the local villagers of Amble, Michigan, there is a giant green squirrel that is terrorizing the area. So let's dig into some of the indigenous folklore to see if we can connect some dots on the puzzling monster. The Mi'kmaq Indians of Nova Scotia and Quebec, Canada folklore tell tales of giant squirrels that used to descend upon the villages and eat the bark off the wigwams or teepees. There is never any mention that these giant squirrels ever harmed people, but were certainly a nuisance as they destroyed their homes. At some point, the squirrels vanished and the native Mi'kmaq's dwellings were safe yet again. PhD Professor Ben S. Roche, an expert in cryptozoology, explains that the stories of the Mi'kmaq peoples referred to living ground sloths. These ground sloths, which ate bark and other vegetation and had long hairy tails, hence the misidentification as squirrels, that were believed to inhabit the area until medieval times. Well, this doesn't really help us out either, as it doesn't fit the giant green squirrel of Amble's description. The giant green squirrel of Amble is said to be very large, ranging from the size of a small cow to a 1970s Buick. And we all know those suckers were tanks.
They were boats on wheels.
Yeah, they were. Certainly don't want to get in an accident with those. They'll tear you to pieces. All accounts report the monster squirrel as having bright green fur. However, none seem to agree on eye color, which report brown, yellow, orange or red. It's said that they make an eerie chitter or chirping sound that sends chills down the spines of the locals. The giant squirrel is nocturnal, so it's only been witnessed at night, and usually when a sliver of the moon is in the night sky. The story originates in the small village of Amble, Michigan, which has a current population of just over 2,000 residents. At Amble's peak, the town had a blacksmith, church, cider mill, creamery, depot, feed mill, 2 general stores, 2 hotels, a few lumber outlets, post office, produce store, real estate company, sawmill, and a tavern. But all of that is gone, except for the church. So, what happened to this once thriving community? Amble is essentially a ghost town. Did the giant green squirrel frighten most of the villagers away? Very unlikely. Information on this Michigan cryptid is as elusive as its reported sightings, and being that all supposed occurrences happen at night at a time when most of the good old locals had already had a few too many, explains more than the research could. One account mentions a man driving home at night in 1964, most likely driving under the influence, when he spotted the giant green squirrel standing along the roadside. Is this folklore, fable, or urban legend? Well, one thing's for certain, this tall tale is totally nuts. So, hun, what in the hell?
This is the most ridiculous story I've researched so far. There's not a whole lot of information, but I wanted to dig into it because it was ridiculous. I hope to find more information. There really wasn't a whole lot. How this legend came to be, I have no idea. It could simply have been just somebody that was totally bonkers out of their mind, drunk one night, that said they saw a giant green squirrel, and then the story began. I could just as easily go out and say that I saw a giant turquoise wild boar and see where it goes in 10 years, you know?
Right.
So
And kind of just like some of the other Indian folklore, like the Wendigo.
Yeah.
Right, the Wendigo. That's what I was looking for. Right? You
Right.
better stay in this teepee at night, children.
That's right. Don't go out late at night and not come home because the giant green squirrel is going to chirp at you.
With red eyes, glowing red eyes, right?
Or eat some bark in front of you.
It might think your legs are a piece of wood.
So I suppose if I were to come across a giant green squirrel in the middle of the woods, I would probably be terrified, but probably more confused.
I'm going to tell you right now, I think I would absolutely be terrified. Okay? Because squirrels can be aggressive,
That's true.
right? And if I see a bright green, red-eyed, ginormous squirrel, because you know how they torture Archie.
Yes, that's
Right?
true. Yeah, they tease our big, lovable dog.
They make him crazy.
They make him crazy.
And they purposely wait, and I'm absolutely convinced they wait for him. They built their nest right out there by the fence, right?
Yeah.
And so they come out and they pop out of their little house and they just flicker that tail and they make that chirping, like that sound
Yeah.
to drive him nuts. So
Yeah.
hell yeah. No, I would be absolutely terrified. I would grab a stick and beat the shit out of it. Bam! I would run. Would it chase, I wonder?
It would take a pretty big nut to satisfy a giant squirrel, though.
Better walk around with a pocket full of nuts.
And just throw them out in the woods.
I got a pocket full of nuts.
And green. no less. A giant green squirrel.
It seems like it's toxic.
Now, if you look at some of these exotic squirrels from like India and stuff, they're really pretty. I don't think I've ever seen pictures of those before, but they got the black and the orange and the yellow and kind of a pattern fur coat.
Oh, so it contains all the colors. It's not this color or that color. It's all the colors. Is
Some
that what
of
you're
them,
saying?
Some of them, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
What would it breed with, I wonder, that would make it so large?
I know that the giant squirrels have been compared to being the size of cats.
I wouldn't like that either.
Yeah, but not the size of a Buick.
Oh, dear God. That's a little stretch, I'm thinking. This whole story is a stretch.
All right. From what I gather, the most terrifying thing about this creature is it's the noise that it makes. There's never any reports of it doing any damage, hurting anybody. It's just a giant green squirrel that chirps and chitter chatters and makes loud noises that make people uneasy, I guess.
It's kind of taunting. I mean, if we could put ourselves in a wigwam,
Okay.
there's not a whole bunch protecting you, right?
Right.
You've got the skin of the wigwam.
Yeah.
What is that made out of?
A bark, apparently.
Well, bark is the bones,
Okay.
right?
Well, I would say animal skin.
Animal skin, like they patch it together or something.
Well, like, you know,
That would have to be a big animal.
Big-
Your wigwams are big.
wigwams are big. Maybe
They'd have to patch it together, I'm thinking.
maybe they were made out of giant squirrel skin. And hence the,
The men are hunting at night.
oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would do that. And then you have squirrel meat.
We'll have
Makes
to-
sense.
We'll have to look out through history and see if there's any green wigwams.
I don't think I've ever seen pictures of a green wigwam. Huh. Well, you know what, hon? This was a little bit of a fun,
It was a bit
fun, crazy tale.
I'm gonna check this one off as just a tall tale.
I concur.
Concur
I
on the
concur.
green fur.
And when it's cold, we say burr. Well, hon, you want to sign us out?
I sure do. You better lock your doors. You better lock your windows. And you might want to check under your bed.
And if I see that green, red-eyed squirrel under my bed, I'm going to throw it a nut.
Throw it in that. Wait a second. Well, give it a Dorito. I bet squirrels like Doritos too.
What?
Yeah, you were giving the shit elves Doritos.
Yeah, but they're house elves. You don't give a squirrel people food. They get nuts. I'm going to, in the lab, create a giant, obscenely giant walnut.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's got to be a walnut, though.
it has to be a walnut.
Keep that sucker busy for a while,
Exactly.
right?
Well, I don't know. You might just throw it in and crunch it up and eat the shell and everything.
Or try and bury it in our yard.
Or in our rain gutters. Because I think we got one up there.
We got some squirrels.
Tossing moss.
Yep. Moss
Green
tossing.
moss. Oh, Hal, we better take a look. I need a bat. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. And come join us on Malice Monday.
See you on Monday.